Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of RedisConf. We had an exciting day yesterday with key announcements diving into the theme of this year's conference: rediscovering real-time data, real-time apps, and real-time experiences that power a real-time world. For over 10 years, among other things, developers love Redis most for its open source roots, simplicity, and sub-millisecond speed. Redis's promise from day one has been to help developers improve the speed of their slow databases and build fast applications. Much has changed since then. Today, a real-time data layer is a critical enabler in building those real-time experiences. With all the data structures built into Redis, you can spend less time on managing data and more time on app logic. Through the years, we've accelerated the pace of innovation by adding in modern data models like JSON, time series, Graph, and Bloom, powered by a fast indexing, query, and search engine. You, the developer, can do more in Redis through the same familiar interfaces, simplify your application stack, and build next-gen apps faster. That's Redis in a nutshell. Build fast applications faster. Today, we'll move to the next steps in the app lifecycle and focus on deploying and running those apps in a way that'll continue to deliver on the promise of real-time experiences. Some of the largest enterprises around the world, such as MasterCard, FedEx, Deutsche Börse, Mercedes, Freshworks, Tokopedia, have grown to rely on Redis Enterprise to handle massive workloads and to run them from anywhere, be it on-premises, in the cloud, hybrid cloud, or multi-cloud. Yesterday, you heard about our close collaboration with AWS. Today, you'll hear about what we've built together with Microsoft and with Google Cloud. And you'll hear from our joint customers about their stories to build, deploy, and run real-time applications and services. So first, I'd like to welcome to the stage Julia Louison and Dave Anderson. Julia is the Corporate Vice President of the Developer Division in Microsoft and has been a driving force behind our close partnership for over a year now. Dave is the VP of Architecture at Genesys, a leading solution provider for omni-channel customer experiences and contact centers. Dave is one of the few top experts in the contact center software architecture. Julia, welcome. It's great to have you back with us today.
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be back at RedisConf. A year ago at RedisConf 2020, Ofer and I announced Microsoft's partnership with Redis Labs. In the last 12 months, the world has gone through unprecedented digital transformation. At Microsoft, we experienced it firsthand. As Microsoft Teams went from 15 million to 150 million daily active users, Azure Cache for Redis was an integral part of Teams' backend that needs to rapidly scale to meet user demand. It's only one example, but it underscores the importance of Redis to large enterprise scenarios. Microsoft and Redis Lab engineering team spent the last year hard at work to integrate Redis Enterprise as a new offering in Azure Cache for Redis. We were blown away by the reaction we received during the service preview, and I'm pleased to announce that as of March, Azure Cache for Redis Enterprise tier is now GA. With Azure Cache for Redis Enterprise, you get the powerful features of Redis Enterprise combined with the support, management, and security of Microsoft Azure. It's designed to give the best developer experience and the best enterprise trust to developers. The offering includes most of your favorite Redis Enterprise features, like active geo-replication, Redis on Flash, modules like Redis Search, Redis Bloom, and Redis Time Series. With this offer, you can securely place your Azure Cache on private networks using Azure Private Link, which is now available on both our Enterprise, and all open source tiers. At the same time, it's all running as a native Azure service. So your billing, security, monitoring, and configuration experience is integrated seamlessly into Azure. This should make your DevOps team very happy. Tying it all together is world-class support provided by Microsoft and with the experts at Redis Labs standing by to assist. We believe this is a groundbreaking native Redis experience on Azure, and our customers agree. Within the last few months, over 45 enterprises have already adopted the service, and from many different industry sectors, from finance to e-commerce. We're really excited to have several of these customers at RedisConf this year to talk about their experiences. Adobe and SitePro both have sessions that you should check out. Adobe is using Redis Bloom to quickly find duplicate messages and avoid sending them to users. SitePro uses Redis time series to collect data from hundreds of thousands of IoT sensors and perform real-time analytics. We're looking forward to seeing what developers will do with this new enterprise offering. Our partnership with Redis Labs underscores our commitment to make Azure the best place for building cloud-native applications. Cloud-native technologies is designed for agility and scalability, but at the same time, many organizations tell us that the learning curve can be steep and it's hard to find best practices. With Azure, you not only get a strong cloud offering, you will also benefit from the enterprise-grade experience we provide at every layer of your architecture, and the best practices we have baked into our product and support experiences. With Azure, customers receive proactive and actionable recommendations for how to secure resources, maintain cluster hygiene, and increase operational efficiency. These best practices are based off thousands of customer engagements we have had done. We have over 3,500 security experts focused on data security and offer 24/7 on-call support from Kubernetes certified experts. We work closely with Cloud Native Computing Foundation and continue to innovate by collaborating with the open source community and listening to developer needs. The Azure Cache for Redis Enterprise offering provides what you need to be cloud native. Speed and responsiveness at scale is at the heart of what cloud native means. That's exactly a key value proposition for Redis. We hired an independent third-party vendor to benchmark application performance on Azure with and without Azure Cache for Redis. The results are remarkable and yet not surprising. With Azure Cache for Redis, the application saw 8 times higher throughput and 11 times better latency performance. For mission-critical applications, high availability is a must. With Enterprise tier, we can provide up to 5.9 uptime, opening new industries to Redis. One of the most important reasons to develop on the cloud is the global network of infrastructure you can tap into. With active geo-replication, you can take advantage of the huge number of Azure data centers across the world to distribute your data globally, which makes your application more resilient and more scalable. We're really excited about the possibilities of using active geo-replication on Azure infrastructure. So I'm going to turn over to Kyle for a quick demo of what it looks like on Azure. Kyle?
Thanks, Julia. Hi, everyone. My name is Kyle Teagarden, and I'm a product marketing manager here at Microsoft. I'm excited to be here today at Redis Conference. Today, I want to show you an example of the power of active geo-replication using the Azure Cache for Redis Enterprise tier. What we've done is created a simple shopping cart app to allow people to buy some awesome Redis swag. We're storing inventory information in a Redis instance located here in Seattle. But of course, the site has become wildly popular. To better serve customers and increase resilience, we want to deploy the application to multiple Azure regions. But how do we distribute this information to other geographies without the inventory becoming inconsistent? Well, here's what a solution looks like on the back end. The shopping cart app is running an Azure Kubernetes service, and we have two clusters, one in Seattle and one in New York. Each Kubernetes cluster is talking to a Redis cache, which holds the inventory. Using active georeplication, we can link these caches together so that an inventory change in one is automatically reflected in the other. Linking two caches together in an active-active configuration is actually pretty easy on Azure. Let me show you how it's done. As you can see, I already have an instance ready to go in Seattle, so I just need to make a new one on the East Coast. I can go to this screen to create a new instance, and you'll notice that I have it set up in East US. Now, if I go ahead and configure it, you'll notice that I can do things like add Redis modules, Bloom, time series search. I can scale to multiple availability zones, and I can even scale the capacity using this slider right here. To set up active georeplication, I go to configure, and it's already found my other instance in Seattle. So I just check the box, click configure, and I'm ready to go. Now, normally I'd provision this, but to save time, I've already done that and set up this site here in New York. So let me compare this side by side with our site in Seattle. And you can see that updating inventory in one region by buying a couple shirts automatically updates it in another as well, and vice versa. I think the unicorn shirt is the best, so I'm going to go ahead and buy all 5 of those shirts. And just like that, you can see that it's sold out and I can't buy any more in either region. So this way you don't have to worry about someone trying to purchase a shirt when there's actually no inventory left. This is the power of active georeplication, and we're excited to see the amazing things that our customers build with this on Azure. Back to you.
Thanks, Kyle. It's great to see how simple it is to set up such a powerful feature. We have certainly been busy in the last year building this service with Redis Labs. Let's take a look at what's coming next. We have new capabilities planned for all tiers of Azure Cache for Redis offerings. In our open source-based Azure Cache for Redis, we're adding Zoom redundancy support and an updated version of open source Redis. In our enterprise tier, we're expanding service availability across our industry-leading global infrastructure. And the goal is to allow you to run Redis Enterprise on nearly all of our Azure data centers. We're also adding support for data persistence, and will soon be making active georeplication, which is currently in preview, generally available. I'm really proud of what we have been able to deliver together with Redis Labs in the last year, and look forward to continue our strong partnership down the road. Our joint customers were eager to get these capabilities in production even before they went fully GA. One of them is here with us today. I'd like to welcome Dave Anderson from Genesys, a leading provider of contact center solutions, to share his story on building a differentiated technology stack to support the rapidly changing needs in the call center space.
Thanks, Julia. I'm Dave Anderson with Genesys. I'm the VP of Architecture for the Engage product line. Genesys is a company that provides customer experience and contact center solutions. And one of the important things that we're focusing on is one of the most powerful human abilities is to connect with each other via empathy. Empathy means that you first listen and try to understand someone before you act. We also learn from every interaction for future interactions. But empathy doesn't just make us human, but it also provides tremendous business value. Empathy drives trust, and trust drives loyalty. In fact, loyalty leaders grow revenue 2.5 times faster than their peers. That's why we have made it the purpose of Genesis to deliver the power of empathy to every single experience. This purpose is highly relevant to our customers. It covers two types of experiences: the experiences our customers offer to their customers and employees through our solutions, and the experiences we provide to our customers and partners directly. So with that purpose, it raises the question as to how do you scale? How do you implement empathy? And so with that vision and direction, we implement empathy through multiple integrated capabilities to provide empathy at scale. We have a rich set of voice and digital channels, allowing us to engage at the right time on the right channels with the right actions. This requires omni-channel capabilities that include routing and integrated employee desktops so that we provide context for those interactions across the experience. We then have, in addition to the channels, we have to provide capabilities for the workforce that's going to handle those experiences and interactions with customers, so that we need to make sure that we have highly qualified workforces to handle them, to manage the performance of those people helping them, and to help them do their business with their customers better. But by providing them, the necessary information and feedback on how they're handling the experience with their customers. To help them do this, we also have our AI, which is designed to orchestrate these experiences with customers and employees. So this AI capability, collects information from various sources, both internal and external, and helps determine, using AI algorithms, what the best action is to either route an interaction or decide how to assist an agent with an interaction, and to thereby improving the experience and learning from those existing interactions to improve future experiences. And finally, and maybe the most important, is the data that we have to collect from the customer's environment and from other partners to make that experience rich and empathetic, and feed our AI platform. And as you can see, we have a very strong set of partners where we integrate into those various solutions to collect that data and utilize it in the processing of experiences, of interactions, to create a better experience. We are also a global leader in this space for customer experience and contact centers. We have over 30 years of leadership. We have 55 of the top 100 companies in the world. We processed 70 billion interactions a year with our platforms. We are deployed in over 100 countries around the world. We have 1,600 plus partners which work with us and integrate with us to provide this solution to our customers. We're also a very innovative company. We've been an innovation leader for most of our existence. As you can see, from the first capabilities of contact centers with screen pops all the way to all the AI-powered contact centers driving empathy and loyalty for customers. We're also been recognized by the analyst as a leader in the top quadrant of this industry. So let's get into the architecture where we are using Redis extensively, and that is on the Engage on Azure platform. So let's now take this strategy that we have for enterprise as a service and focus in on our Engage on Azure implementation of that strategy. This solution is a Kubernetes first platform. It utilizes Kubernetes capabilities to provide a highly reliable and secure and scalable platform. We also utilize other cloud services such as Redis, other Azure services such as their Postgres or WAF capabilities. We also utilize Azure's, networking capabilities to allow our customers choice on how they connect not only data traffic, but voice traffic into the platform. It also allows us to provide, a highly scalable architecture and a highly secure architecture by utilizing its capabilities, Azure's capabilities of multiple AZs and regions. So let's talk about how Redis has benefited the Engage on Azure solution. First is functionality. We utilize Redis for streaming and for in-memory data set storage and access. We also need it for performance capabilities. We process tens of thousands of events per second through the platform. And we also utilize it, have very big data sets that we have to maintain in real time, multi-gigabit data sets. Because it is a voice related platform and because we are dealing with some of the largest enterprise customers in the world, we have to have a highly reliable solution. And we utilizes Redis's multi-AZ capability, as well as its great SLA for resiliency. As far as scale goes, we use 16 clusters per region, and we're targeting to have a global solution with 6+ regions. We utilize it for security. We have to be, because it is big enterprise customers, we have to have PCI compliance, HIPAA compliance, SOC 2, and so on. So we utilize the encryption capabilities, authentication capabilities, and so on of the Redis platform. And then to help us focus more on our business functionality, we utilize their managed solution from Azure, and we have it fully automated into our pipelines. So it makes it easier to manage and control the platform. Just to take you into a couple of detailed use cases, we use it for real-time event streaming for voice and routing microservices that we have. This is where we have to process events and tens of thousands of events in near real time, and it has to be extremely highly reliable to maintain those voice calls as they're being processed. In addition, we utilize it for the state management of those voice calls, as well as the agent states. So when we're dealing with 200,000 calls, concurrent calls, or 50,000 agents, we have to be able to maintain that at near real time for our services to be responsive.
Thanks very much, Dave and Julia. That was awesome. It's fascinating to see the connection between empathy, business, and technology, and how the combination of Redis Enterprise and Microsoft Azure helps Genesis deliver great experiences in some of the most performance-sensitive use cases like voice services to some of the largest enterprises in the world. We've also seen customers like Adobe and SitePro who leverage advanced Redis Enterprise capabilities natively on Azure. By the way, both Adobe and SitePro are presenting here at RedisConf, and you can hear more about their use cases and implementations. This has been an unusual year for all of us, and one thing that we all have experienced is that our lives became much more digital than they were 12 months ago. One of the verticals that really boomed in the past 12 months is gaming. In fact, gaming is the world's biggest form of entertainment, with 2.7 billion players and getting bigger every day. To give you an idea of how big this is, gaming is now bigger than movie industry and sports industry combined. Nowhere it is more critical to have real-time capabilities than gaming, where players are global and instant experiences drive growth, engagement, and success of a platform. Unity is a major gaming engine and a real-time development platform for games, and I'm thrilled to invite our next speaker to stage, Alex Curtin, to share Unity's journey on Google Cloud's GKE and Redis Enterprise. Alex.
Thanks, Mike, and hello, everyone. To recap, my name is Alex Curtin, and I'm a DevOps manager at Unity. Unity is the world's leading platform for creating and operating interactive, real-time 3D content. Our platform provides a comprehensive set of software solutions to create and operate content for mobile phones, tablets, PCs, consoles, and AR or VR devices. At Unity, we believe the world is a better place with more creators in it. This philosophy is centered around serving creators and is the beating heart of our company. It motivates each and every one of us to help solve the toughest engineering, data, and operational problems so that digital creators can create and operate, all within the Unity ecosystem. Let's focus deeper on what I mean by operate. Once a real-time 3D experience is live, we provide value after the create experience, helping it to operate in the real world. With the largest names in gaming, we've connected hundreds of millions of players and expanded gameplay for titles like League of Legends, PUBG, and Apex Legends, all of which use some part of or a combination of solutions from Unity to successfully operate their game. After a real-time 3D experience is launched, we power developers to grow and monetize their game through Unity Ads, serving more than 23 billion ads per month on over 2.5 billion devices. Unity Ads is a comprehensive monetization platform for Unity, iOS, and Android developers. With it, users can easily monetize their existing player base or fuel player acquisition strategies by advertising their games across the world's largest gaming community. When Unity first migrated to GCP, we built an open-source Redis solution using GCE VMs and a home-rolled Terraform module for clustered or Sentinel mode Redis that lived outside of Kubernetes. This required advanced init scripts, firewall rules, console for service discovery, and even more complexities. While this provided some flexibility for developers, it became a major headache to maintain and orchestrate. The solution still required occasional manual intervention, especially around Redis version upgrades or resizing of existing cluster VMs. One of the largest issues with our earlier attempts at providing Redis for developers was the difficulty level involved at creating new Redis clusters with the Terraform module. The solution required an in-depth knowledge of all of the moving parts, for example, understanding how console and Sentinel were involved. The large scale of Redis clusters built this way also translated into almost a full-time team member being devoted to assisting with build-outs or issues with existing clusters. At the time, there was not a reliable way to run persistent databases inside Kubernetes. Some of our developers started trying to run Redis inside GKE using open source solutions, but inevitably they would always run into some problems. We wanted to provide a standardized solution for Redis on GKE, but one that would be reliable, scalable, and include an enterprise support team we can count on. That's when we first started taking a look at Redis Enterprise and the Redis Enterprise operator for GKE. The DevOps team started experimenting with the operator, and were amazed at how resilient it was and how it fit right in with our existing toolset of GKE, Helm, and Terraform, as well as including monitoring and alerting with Prometheus. Moving to Redis Enterprise and the operator for GKE allowed us to enable development teams to spin up new Redis databases through YAML manifests, remove the worry and overhead around node management, allowed for swift failover with less client disruption, and additionally, to eliminate Sentinel for high availability. As an added bonus, our client code did not need to change. We could use Redis Enterprise as a drop-in replacement for the legacy open source Redis databases. Running Redis Enterprise in GKE alongside the services also reduced developer friction in the time it takes to get tests, staging, and production infrastructure set up. What used to take a few days can now be easily accomplished in one single day. Workloads that previously relied on our open source Terraform module to build large Redis clusters usually required upwards of 20 GCE VMs, split between some Sentinel nodes and some Redis nodes. As we migrated these workloads into Redis Enterprise, we've been able to provide sub-millisecond latency for incredibly high throughput services on just a fraction of the infrastructure needed before. Because our workloads are running in GKE and the operator can be cluster local on its own node pool, we've also reduced network latency while improving resiliency due to the zone-aware, highly available nature of the operator. As the team at Unity works to stay ahead of the complex challenges that come with our ever-growing scale, we use Google Cloud and Redis Enterprise to help us achieve our goals. As part of the DevOps team's push for standardization around best-in-class solutions, we'll be moving more and more workloads into Redis Enterprise as the de facto solution for Redis at Unity. Thanks for your time, and back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Alex. The scale at which Unity is operating is mind-blowing. 23 billion ads a month, over 2.5 billion, and that's with the B devices. It's no wonder you made removing friction from your processes a top priority. And it seems that standardizing on Redis Enterprise on GKE brought a myriad of built-in capabilities that transformed the experience for your developers and customers. So with that, let's keep the momentum high and hear more about GKE and other capabilities Google Cloud has created to better meet your Redis needs. I'd like to welcome Jeff Reed to the stage. Jeff recently joined Google as the Vice President of Anthos, and he's already here with us. Jeff, it's great to have you here today. Please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Reed. I lead product for Google Anthos, and I'm very excited to be here to talk about Google Cloud and how do we make Redis even better on Google Cloud. So I'm relatively new to Google, joined a few months ago, and whenever you get to a new job, there's kind of the things that you expect, and there's things that hopefully make that job even better. So a couple of my early examples at Google have been, you expect vacation days. Hopefully every company gives that. But at Google, we actually get mental health days. So kind of random days to let us kind of recharge our batteries, particularly in these COVID world. Another example is, we expect to be able to get access to all the important, financial statements and data, et cetera. But typically you've got to do that online with a VPN. It's kind of a pain. Here at Google, we don't use VPNs. So, we use Beyond Corp. I can get right there from my machine on my Chrome browser to all the data that I need. The same thing kind of in the Redis environment. There's things that you expect to get any time you're running Redis, and then things that make it better. So I'm here to talk a little bit about how Google Cloud is trying to make Redis even better than you would expect. So the first area is around network. Redis thrives on low latency. And look, Google Cloud's network's really fast. You get the same load balancers as YouTube, but we do some things that are special. And those include things like intelligent global load balancing. So we give you anycast IPs in front of any of your Redis environments. We have hybrid connectivity options. So in fact, I spent a bunch of time yesterday learning about these. So how do we make sure we're giving you great, high bandwidth, highly load balanced environments, kind of wherever you're running across your environment. So really, in networking, we have some of the absolute best options in the cloud. Another area, and it's probably even closer to home for a lot of you in Redis environments, is around data. So you expect easy access to database, analytics platforms, data integration engines, AI, ML. Here at Google Cloud, we're trying to make your experience even better than you'd expect. So that can be premium database options. So things like our CAP theorem busting spanner, our Cloud SQL managed service, massively scalable Bigtable. We also bring a bunch of data processing tools to you. So Apache Spark and Flink with our Dataproc service, serverless stream and batch processing with Dataflow, PubSub for messaging, and you can do things like stashing data in BigQuery for scalable analytics. And lastly, and probably one of the things that we're absolutely best known for is what we do from an AI ML perspective. So things like conversational AI and virtual agents to our speech to text, optical character recognition. There's a whole bunch of amazing AI ML capabilities that you get from Google Cloud for your Redis environments. And third, and maybe even more close to home, is what you expect from compute. So clearly you need great processors, lots of memory, and we give you those things, pick a bare metal, VMs, Kubernetes hosts, you can dial it up with premium CPUs and piles of RAM. Our GCE VMs get all the way to 12 terabytes per instance. We have dedicated nodes. We're regularly recognized for what we do from a compute, memory, and storage perspective. But an area I want to talk about how we make it even better for you is around Kubernetes. So we know more and more of you are looking to run Redis in a Kubernetes environment. And I'd say there's no better place to do that than Google Cloud. And not only did we invent Kubernetes and open sourced it, and frankly, we've been surprised at how massive an impact it's had, but we've taken all of that know-how and brought it together in our Google Kubernetes engine, or GKE, which we really think is the gold standard of any Kubernetes environment you can use. Incredible scaling, as you see, up to 15,000 nodes, really interesting security capabilities. So things like, managed control plane, shielded GKE nodes, so hackers can't impersonate nodes. We have confidential nodes where we encrypt the memory. We have GKE Sandbox, protects host kernels from untrusted workloads. And I think even more interesting is how we're taking all the day two and the simplification that we're bringing you in Kubernetes. So if you think about, what you have to do to run a do-it-yourself Kubernetes, all the processes that you need to make that a reality, managing upgrades and picking your distribution, all that stuff. With GKE, we do a lot of that for you. So in our standard offering, we're adding a ton of kind of opinionated and managed control planes, et cetera. But one of the things I'm most excited about is something we just announced last month, which is GKE Autopilot, which is really about leading your Kubernetes environment to us. So we do the management, we scale for you, we do the patching. So basically, we take care of all the day two operations so you can focus on your Redis environment. And on top of this, we've added capabilities and really the ability for you to take your GKE environment with you with Google Anthos. So the thing about Google Anthos is we've taken GKE and we've allowed it to operate outside of Google Cloud Platform. So that can be on-prem, that can be in other clouds such as AWS. So really, you can standardize Redis on your GKE environment, but you can now run that GKE environment in all the places you might need to. And look, we'd love for you to run on Google Cloud as much as possible, but we know that's not always a possibility. And so we provide with Anthos this amazing flexibility for you to take it with you. So lastly, I want to touch on a really cool announcement that we have, and that is now Redis Enterprise is available for deployment to GKE and Anthos environments. So right from our Google Cloud Marketplace, you can target a Redis Enterprise deployment to GCP or to GKE running elsewhere. Public cloud, private cloud, retail edge, you name it, you can take your Redis Enterprise with you. So we're really trying to make that simple and easy for you. So bottom line is kind of regardless of how you do Redis, you have a premium network, data, compute experience. And with our Forever Free tier, you can even try things for free. So that gives you autopilot or zonal cluster, 2 million Cloud Run requests per month, 10 gig of pub sub messages, 120 build minutes on Cloud Build, up to a terabyte of queries on BigQuery. So we're really trying to make it easy for you to have a wonderful experience of Redis on top of Google Cloud. So thanks for having me here today, and I look forward to creating even more ways to make Redis amazing for you. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. Kubernetes has come up again and again in both our partners and our customer stories as a de facto standard for container orchestrations. This is in line with Datadog's 2020 container report, ranking Redis as the #1 container image running in Kubernetes stateful sets. It's wonderful to see how Google Cloud is making it easier for companies with on-prem footprint to use Redis Enterprise. We received great perspectives yesterday and today on how to deploy and run Redis at scale across different industries such as finance, high tech, and gaming. Once Redis is deployed at the large scale in clusters across multiple infrastructures and in many cases across regions, DevOps team feel the need to have a better means to add Redis into their operational stacks and best practices. Grafana, as many of you know, has been gaining steam in the last few years as a powerful open source dashboarding solution that has expanded into an observability platform with enterprise tier capabilities. I'm delighted to have the guy that started the Grafana project back in 2014, and today he's the co-founder and chief Grafana officer at Grafana Labs, joining us all the way from Stockholm, Sweden, Torkel Odegaard. Welcome, Torkel. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, Mike. My name is Torkel Odegaard. I am from Stockholm, Sweden, and I'm going to talk about Grafana. Give you a quick intro to kind of what Grafana is and why it's been so popular, and what we're up to, and some of the exciting, some of the things I think are going to be exciting in the coming kind of years in the observability space. So let's get started. What is Grafana? For those of you who haven't seen it or walked past it back in the time when you maybe went to an office, Grafana started its life as a dashboarding data visualization tool with a focus on kind of beautiful graphs and time series metrics, working with application metrics and monitoring. Maybe some of you recognize it better with its default dark UI, which is my preference. Grafana started really as this dashboarding data visualization tool with a really nice, easy to use UI to build these dashboards and create queries for time series databases. It started as an open source project that I started back in 2014. And I've been working on this kind of almost nonstop, it feels like, for the last 7 years, still committing code almost daily. And it has during that time become one of the biggest GitHub projects with over 40,000 stars and over 1,000 contributors. And we also have a company that I'm going to talk about a bit soon, but with many full-time engineers just working on this project alone. And to give you a sense of the adoption of this project, we have some kind of anonymous usage stats for those who don't turn it off that give us a sense of how many people use this. So over 700,000 installations running, and in those we have close to 5 million users. So as I mentioned, there is a company as well that is kind of powering and supporting the open source project and building products on top of it. And chief among them is Grafana Cloud and Grafana Enterprise. And these are kind of fully featured observability solutions, both for like as a SaaS service and on-prem. We also have other open source projects in Grafana Loki and Tempo, and we contribute heavily to open source projects like Cortex and Prometheus. So back to Grafana. So Grafana is more today than just a dashboarding tool. It's really a fully featured observability platform for metrics, logs, and traces. And kind of really focusing on connecting them and making the navigation between them really tight. It also has support for alerting and notifications, so you can define alert rules and get notified when certain queries cross certain thresholds. Another really key thing about Grafana is it's an open platform. It has plugins for data sources and visualizations, and this is really key kind of culture and strategy for Grafana to be this open platform. So by default, Grafana ships with support for many of the popular open source data sources, so for time series metrics, but also for the big cloud data source providers and for SQL databases as well. And we have a large plugin catalog as well that supports data sources like Redis. So this data source is developed by Redis Labs. It is provided for free, and with it, you can monitor Redis, both the open source and enterprise versions. And it has support for many of the popular kind of modules in Redis, like the time series, search, graph, and gears modules. And with, if you have a Grafana subscription, you can use the Grafana Explorer for Redis Enterprise to automatically discover all the databases managed by your Redis Enterprise deployment. This data source is also really unique in that it's one of the few real data sources that uses the Grafana streaming capabilities. So yeah, which is really cool. Back to kind of why Grafana has seen this amazing adoption these last couple of years. It's many factors, chief among them being actually not these, but that Grafana supports so many data sources. So many users can actually use this tool. But beyond kind of supporting so many data sources, the other key factors is really kind of the rise of DevOps and the fact that we as developers, or at least I'm a developer, we have during the last like 15 years or more, I mean, like more and more complex systems, more complex production environments, clustered systems, distributed systems, microservice architectures. And all this kind of, we want to change all the time. We want to have continuous delivery. We want to deploy and modify this system multiple times a day. And all these factors has really kind of increased the demand for good observability of this kind of complex changing system. And that's really been one of the chief missions for Grafana and Grafana Labs is to provide you with the tools and building blocks to gain you that observability. And one of the ways we are kind of working on this is like, really getting the workflows and navigation paths between your metrics, logs, and traces to gain you that observability. But looking beyond that, some of the key things that we're kind of looking at or working on right now or excited about for the future is like improving the workflows for dashboards as code. We know a lot of our users like to kind of check in their dashboards along with the application or infrastructure that they're monitoring. And we really want to kind of improve this workflow. It's something that Grafana supports today, but I think this is going to be kind of having this be part of the work, improving the workflows here is going to be really key for the future, I think, and something that we're looking into. Other kind of things that I'm excited about is expanding Grafana beyond these kind of DevOps and observability use cases and going into kind of more into BI and IoT. We know Grafana is heavily used in other kind of domains because it's very open-ended kind of domain agnostic tool in its core, but we really want to make Grafana better for these kind of new use cases. And part of that is like really making Grafana support high frequency streaming. So being able to support like 20 updates per second to multiple graphs directly from hardware. It's really kind of pushing the platform in interesting ways. We have to optimize everything. So that's kind of an interesting or exciting thing we're working on right now. And Redis is actually one of the few data sources that is taking advantage of the work we've already done to support this. And lastly, the thing that I'm also sort of maybe most excited about, but this is maybe the thing that is most forward-looking here. I want to look beyond dashboards or look kind of. I want to make data applications that so something that much more dynamic than the current dashboards you have. So the thing that I'm exploring here is like building an application framework for building data applications. And that's something I'm super excited about, to sort of give you super easy to use kind of tools and libraries to build data applications that allow you to have much more dynamic drill down and contextual features that go beyond what you can do in the current dashboards.
Thanks, Torkel. It's nice to see how another super popular open source project has grown into a successful company. We see tremendous interest in Grafana in both Redis open source community as well as Redis enterprise install base, and we'll continue our close collaboration with Grafana to enhance our plugins. Remember that you can download the plugins for free from either the Redis Labs or Grafana Labs websites. As I was closing yesterday's keynote, I brought up the importance of having choices. Your business needs, your priorities, your regulatory requirements, your geography, and eventually where you are along your journey all drive different architectural and business needs. In today's keynote, we've demonstrated our unique relationship with the top cloud providers. Each of them has a managed service offering based on open source Redis, yet all of them recognize the need to have premium offering based on Redis enterprise capabilities to help meet the expectation of joint customers like the ones we've seen on the stage today. And more often, we're seeing enterprises pursuing multi-cloud and inter-cloud strategies that we can support with Redis Enterprise. So no matter how small or big you are, how consolidated or distributed, in the beginning, the middle, or towards the end of your cloud journey, or even if you're 100% cloud native, we give you choices to build your real-time experiences with Redis in the way that suits you best. As we close today's keynote, let's get ready to tune into the stories and analysis behind today's news in a fireside chat with some of our keynote speakers. I'd like to welcome again our host, John Furrier. John, please take it away.
Hello and welcome to the RedisConf 2021 post-keynote live fireside chat. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. Thanks for joining me today for this live conference. 3 great guests lined up to share their reactions to the keynote and all the big news. First up is Yiftach Schulman, who's the CTO and co-founder of Redis Labs. Yiftach, great to have you. Thanks for chatting.
Hi, John.
How are you? Great to have you. We've heard so much about announcements on stage yesterday, talks today. You guys are really expanding, Redis is expanding consistency, programmability support, many use cases on the platform. Where do you see this going? Are we going to see convergence in the database space?
Great question. So I think what we are trying to do, and if we forget for a second for the individual announcements, we are trying to make sure that whenever you want to deploy a real-time application, Redis is your choice. Practically, we think there is no better choice for that. And the first component for real-time application is where do you put your data, which type of database you use. And real-time database has two elements. First is the real-time, and second is the database. So I think there is no question about the real-time portion of Redis. Yeah, everyone understands today. But every millisecond that you spend in the database means 100 times this number at your application. And in order to make a real-time application, you need to make sure that your database responds in less than a millisecond. There's a lot of question whether Redis is a database, and I think yesterday we showed our numbers, like over 9 years in productions, over 1.5 million databases, deployed over 500 data centers, cloud and on-premise, and experienced over 5,000 node failure events and 200 complete data center outages without a single lost data when someone enabled all the AJ features. But for those who are not convinced, we say, okay, we will move on and also provide a strong, by the book, strong consistency capabilities with Redis. This is what we announced yesterday. And by the way, it is always fascinating me why only ISVs need to go through this process of justifying the consistency parameters with Jepson. And if you look at all the cloud databases out there, none of them even try to run Jepson. And I'm sure that once they do it, they will find issues. And anyway, we passed Jefferson with no unresolved issues. That was like the first component. Make sure that Redis now is a truly database. So that was the first component. And later on, once you have a database, you need to make sure that all the popular data model can be used on this database. This includes JSON, graph, time series, and very strong, search capabilities on the top of the key values that Redis already has. And the combination of JSON and search actually allows you to program everything on the top of Redis.
Go ahead, Ken, sorry.
Yeah, so this is in a nutshell. We have more to it, but I like that.
So there's a lot of feedback on the Redis JSON and Redis Search. Obviously, great stuff there. It seems like Redis JSON and Redis Search is a perfect marriage together. People are excited by that. Do you plan to publish performance benchmarks on that? And can you also give us feedback on what you're hearing from the customers?
Great question. So, actually these modules or data models are with us for the last 2 years. And I would say that the combination of JSON and search is 75%, or JSON or search, 75% of our users. So this was the number one request to make sure that we can query, index, and search on a JSON document. As for the expected performance, we did an initial benchmark. We showed it yesterday that with Redis you can reach to 3 times to up to 37 times faster than MongoDB and Elastic per cluster node, which is expected. Redis is much faster than these technologies. Everything is in memory, written in C, very close to the hardware. It is expected.
In a world where users want real time, applications have, some features that really require fast speed, right? For, edge, whether it's a device or, data. This is real-time experiences. People want that. And I find that the AA is fascinating, having that capability. What do you hear from customers when you hear that? I got to have this app be high performance for the user. I need low latency. AA works. What do you hear from customers? What's your secret sauce and what's your vision until you see the next steps on this?
Yeah, so just to share with you some information, over 50% of our deals are with active these days. And what is fascinating is that customers started to understand that active is not only for DR purposes. By the way, it's a great tool for DR because you can fail over immediately without a need to set up anything. You can start working on your disaster recovery replica and everything will just go. Another use case for active is to do a seamless migration between hybrid to cloud without the need to have a single cutoff. You know that when you want to migrate to the cloud, you're always worried what will be at the point of time when you do the cutoff. How can you make sure that if you forgot something, you can move back? So active allows you to do that. And last but not least, is to deploy a real distributed application across the globe with any number of replicas. Make sure that the data is closer as possible to where your users are. And there is actually no way to do it without active technology that is based on CRDPs, conflict-free replicated data type. For those of you who are not familiar with it, this is academically proven. It was invented by a group of professors. And one of the leaders there is Professor Carlos, is on our advisory board. And the intent was to improve the experience of Google Sheets, by the way, which today is good. And the other idea with CRDP is that you don't need a consensus product. So, in other technologies, whenever you write or read something, you need to have the majority of the replica accepting this. Otherwise, you can reach a situation where your data set is not consistent. Not strong and not eventually consistent. It is just not consistent. With CRDPs, you don't need to do that. And therefore, it allows you to run any application at the local speed, even if it is globally deployed. This is
that's awesome.
This is the fascinating stuff.
And it's hard too. People don't know how hard that is. And also getting the right data at the right time to the users in an application is becoming table stakes and super important. I think people know that you guys have that low latency. It's critical.
Yeah, and I think what is new about the yesterday announcement is that we added nested data types, JSON, to CRDPs, which is not covered by any academic research. So we actually extend CRDP support, which is fascinating.
It's really great leadership from you guys as a team, showing the pioneering aspect of it and leading the open source projects. Love it. I think the community is totally into it. I got to ask you about the cloud providers. We heard from Matt and AWS yesterday, and Julia and Jeff from Microsoft and Google Cloud today. How do you see Redis Labs' relationships with the cloud providers in the next 1 to say 2 years as scale continues to be pushing the envelope, the demand for modern applications at an all-time high? What is the relationship with the cloud providers from your standpoint in the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I'm happy that all cloud providers understood to operate and they prove it. Yeah, we have this relationship with started with Google, with what we call free third-party first-class integration with us. Azure with the enterprise team, which is fully integrated. And lastly, even AWS, thanks to Matt, we started, with only marketplace, which is significant because you can use your AWS to pay for Redis Enterprise and enjoy all these exciting abilities. But we believe we will move to the next level. And I'm happy to see that these guys are cooperating with us and with other ISPs.
Yeah, I think that's a validation. I think the cloud providers have to serve their customers. And when they're voting with their code, Redis Labs, you guys are doing a great job, and they got to respond to that. But one of the things you bring in active-active, we talk about real-time data, that's powering the AI movement. AI is everywhere. It seems to be the big focus right now for you guys as well. Can you take me through your thinking on why Redis for AI makes sense for the community, for developers, and for companies? And where is the sweet spot? Is there a real-time angle to it? Can you share your thoughts, please?
Yeah, I think everyone is looking to add some element of AI to the software stack. And the last thing that we want is once you add the AI capabilities, you don't want to degrade your application performance just because you added AI. So in the demo yesterday, we showed how you can do visual search in Redis at a sub-millisecond. And by the way, we have quite a few customers who are using it today, not for only visual search, but also for image processing. I'm telling you, they reduced the image recognition from seconds to few milliseconds, which is amazing. So this is in a nutshell. But we also see, lately, as we discussed yesterday, people are starting to share the AI reference architecture, and features still stand out like the main component to bridge between the data and the models that we create. And without us pushing it, Redis has become the de facto standard for what's called online features. Just to explain the audience what that means, usually you train your models with thousands of features, but for an online application, you usually get just a few of them. Like, for instance, fraud detection, you get the user ID and the merchant ID. But in order to run it through AI, you need to enrich the transaction. So you access the features code to get the features, enrich the transaction, and send it to the AI influence engine in order to see the prediction parts of the prediction. So this is critical. Now, what we found is that if you combine together features code with the influencing engine, you can cut the latencies or increase the throughput by an order to 2 orders of magnitude. So in general, feature store is no more just feature is also influencing engine. There are some cases where people are using it for model store, but because of the same application, you need to have multiple models. When you switch between user, you need to consider different data models. And people are also calling it evaluations, because once you do the inferencing, you need to do how successful it was. You need to understand how successful it was. Whether you need to add some drift monitoring or feature monitoring. So it's like feature store, model store, and evaluation store. And this is the direction we go.
Yitzhak, thank you for coming on. I want to ask you a final question about the company. Redis Labs is 10 years ago. You started it 10 years plus later. You got a lot of funding, a lot of success, great traction, validation. I interviewed over in 2013, and big data. Now you guys saw the trend of fast data early, real time. What are you most proud of over the 10 years?
Yeah, I think that first of all, for what we built, like Redis is launched, download more than 7 million times a day, more than any other. But we didn't only help, to create, I would say, better application experience. We also help companies to be successful. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but in 2014, a company called Jet.com was invented, and their CEO, Mark Lohr, decided to run everything on Azure with, back then we didn't have Active, but Active Fast. And we asked him, why do you use Azure? Because Azure at that time was not so stable like it is today. He said, anyway, I won't run it over AWS for various reasons, for well-known reasons. So we helped them to create Jet.com. At the same time, by the way, we talked with a group of, I would say, naive engineers for a little company called Peloton Cycle, that today everyone knows. And by the same time, we also help a company called Bounty, which is today all the video around Twitter to make a great success. So a lot of companies use Redis to actually create themselves. And today you wouldn't imagine the world without these companies. And last but not least, I think what's unique about Redis Labs and the Redis community is the long-term commitment of the employees and the community. So, we founded Redis Labs 10 years ago. Salvatore started Redis like 11 years ago and still involved in the company. The core committee that manages Redis are people who contributed the first committee Redis like 10 years ago. There are people like Mark Gravel, Mark Pollack, Andy McVady, which are with us, are community members, not Redis Labs employees, and continue to contribute as well as Redis Labs employees. This is very unique to us, I think, as a company and as a community. Everyone who is starting to be part of it just stays there and help us to make the world just a better place.
Well, congratulations. It's a great accomplishment. It's a great milestone. Still a lot more work to do. Great pioneering work for you and the community. It's been great to watch and see. We use Redis in our little cube cloud. Love it and looking forward to using it more. So thank you for coming on and sharing your perspective post Keynote Fireside Chat. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, we're going to continue on the post Keynote live chats to get the analysis. We got the next is up is the co-founder, Grafana, super popular program. It's come out. It's just really been super awesome. People love it. It's talk of the town. Torkel Ugerd, who's here. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, John. Thanks.
Hey, how are you? Great to meet you. Your world debut. Yeah. Thank you on theCUBE.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
It's great to be here. Great to be a speaker as well at your conference and be here for this fireside chat.
I love going to all the conferences, Linux Foundation, CNCF, KubeCon, all the big open source projects. You have built one of the best, most exciting projects in open source. People love it. So congratulations, and you got celebrity status there in the developer community. Thanks for doing all the work. I got to ask you, when you were building the project back in 2014, what were you thinking then? What were you trying to solve? And where did you see the sweet spot for this because it's super popular and people are talking all about it. Take us through the story of how this all kind of came together.
Yeah, sure. I mean, back then, I was really trying to solve my own kind of pain points around kind of observability. I was a developer and architect, and we were building a distributed kind of microservice architecture, and our monitoring was really poor. Using kind of like old legacy systems, and someone from operations showed me Graphite, and had its like beautiful real-time graphs you could get, but the UI to build these dashboards was really clunky and was really hard to use, and I would kind of struggle to get team members to use this tool and build dashboards. They would always come to me to ask how does this query work and how can I build a dashboard. So that was really like the scratching my own itch in terms of like making something much more easier and accessible. And at the same time, we were started using Kibana, Elasticsearch kind of UI, and it had like a really awesome foundation for an easy to use dashboard. So I took that as a foundation and really kind of tried to make observability and sort of time series databases easy to use and accessible for everyone. And that was kind of so where I saw it, like there was at the time, there was a ton of alternative like dashboards around for time series databases like Graphite, but they were all kind of just really clunky and hard to use. And I was just trying to really make that the UI and the experience of building and discovering the data and the query language that as easy as possible. And that's sort of where I think sort of Grafana still has a kind of sweet spot.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's great story. You know, all the best stuff happens organically like that. I remember during that time, there was a lot of sprawl of dashboards du jour. Everywhere you go, there was a dashboard tool, right? There's a tool here, tool there, and people were getting funded for it. And again, I love the story of you were the go-to person for for dashboarding. But I got to ask you, at that time, you know, you see where it is today. Everyone that's getting funding, there's like 10 zillion startups on observability. It's a hot topic. How would you describe the relationship with other commercial observability players? It seems like there's dozens and new startups coming out of the woodwork every day.
Yeah, it's definitely a very hot kind of area. I mean, the need for observability kind of keeps growing as we are building kind of more and more complex systems that we are deploying and kind of all the time. So the need for observability tools is just sort of increasing. And Grafana has a really kind of good philosophy here, in that we believe that sort of in a big tent philosophy, we believe to, instead of like competing with different other vendors, we want to be kind of interoperate and integrate with them. So this has been like true for even we let some of these competitors come and speak at our conferences and talk about how they can use their data source or their database in Grafana, because we have this like plugin system where you can interoperate. You can use New Relic data or sort of InfluxDB data or Elasticsearch data or Splunk data. So in Grafana. So that's kind of the interesting part is that we try not to compete directly. It's more like interoperate and integrate with all these different vendors.
You know, that's a great thing to do, is to make things integrate well and interoperate. That makes things easier, right? I mean, that's what developers want.
Because we're kind of discovering that, so the reality is that in a big company, different teams use different tools and different vendors, and having the ability to then like combine and integrate and see all these data from different vendors and different databases in the same dashboard and in the same tool to start with is really a key thing with Grafana.
Yeah, no one wants to go to those meetings where it's like, we got to discuss integration. Why can't we just integrate it all automatically? Again, automation is a big part of the cloud scale. We heard that from all the cloud players. Here at RedisConf, the big topic's real time. So you got integration, you got multiple clouds, you got hybrid environment, and data has to work across all infrastructure, and the modern developer wants to just program the infrastructure. So the real-time data is going to be the critical piece in all this. So I have to ask you, what does that mean to you? Real-time data. Are you seeing the expectation from your users to process and visualize data faster in real time? I mean, is it too fast? What's your thoughts on that? Take us through that.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing interest. I mean, we shared some new developments around kind of really high frequency streaming recently, and the engagement from the community was really kind of telling that this is really kind of interesting to people. The use case that we are going after first is really maybe not sort of the clear observability use cases there. It's more like industrial use cases, IoT, or sort of where you have like sensors that are really streaming, that have data that coming in at like multiple, like 20 frames per, or 20 updates per second. So that's kind of the use case we're going after now with this high resolution streaming, at least. And that's going to be so interesting because Grafana is being used in these kind of other domains as well. It's not just observability. It's this kind of mix of observability and industrial use cases and BI even.
Torkel, if you don't mind me asking while we're on the topic, because I love this. This is one of my favorite discussion points, real time. I think it's, people misabuse the word. Real time is near real time. It's not to the second. Edge is going to make this a whole nother ball game. Do people, do you see these observability dashboards and the data dashboard becoming harder and harder? Because it seems like they start out as, this is really easy to use, and then it becomes harder to use. And then as things add to it, you just get stuck with a tool that becomes complicated. It's maybe started out easy, but then as it sprawls, it doesn't really solve everything. So there needs to be another abstraction layer on top. What's your thoughts on this trend?
I mean, it's definitely something that it's been a constant worry with Grafana, is that sort of with more use cases and more demand for more features, Grafana becomes harder to use, and so it's been a big challenge to sort of try to always, as we add features, as we add more capabilities, try to generalize and try to find ways to make it easier. And that's something we've been sort of really focused on doing. I think the other key to that is, trying to make Grafana smarter, and I think, or make dashboards that work kind of out of the box, and create a more kind of pre-built dashboards, or kind of automate the process around kind of dashboards. We're putting a lot of effort into like being able to define dashboards through code or through kind of generated mechanisms to work around some of that.
Yeah, I think you're on the right direction. I think thinking like a platform and a system is really the way to think about it. Great stuff. Well, next question I have for you is that we heard from the Redis founders, and I remember I interviewed Ofer back in 2013, the year before you started your project. They had the vision early on of big data and moving around very fast in their use cases, and then continue to stay on that trajectory, and look where they are. It's a huge success. Built on open source offering, okay? You're taking a similar approach, which I love, which is, how has this approach been playing out for you? Because again, everyone's talking about Grafana. You have Grafana Labs. Take us through your vision of how you see it playing out for you.
Well, I mean, it's been a journey of discovery in terms of like sort of this kind of learning how to be an open source company, and figuring out the business model. Our initial kind of first couple of years was almost all about like, grow the open source project, grow the open source community, don't monetize, sort of we'll figure that out later. So we'll at the same time, we're building like a SaaS platform, a Grafana cloud platform for metrics and obviously Grafana, but that was like, we'll make money on our SaaS, but that took time to build, and at the same time, yes, Grafana kept growing, and at the point where enterprises start using it and kind of coming with demands for custom integrations and like more of these enterprise features, and then we kind of open the door for a more like open core model where we have an enterprise. Distribution and enterprise feature set that builds on top of the open source sort of feature set. But we really wanted to make sure that the enterprise features we build really target these large companies. So we don't create an open source project that is like crippleware with the users frustrated that features that should be there, that everyone should be able to sort of take advantage of, but are not there or in the paid version and not being added to the open source version, for example. So that's something that we've been working really hard on, to make sure that the enterprise features are really targeting large companies that so we don't sort of make an open source project that you cannot get started with and doesn't solve sort of the most common problems and use cases. And that's kind of the story that's kind of evolving. We're getting up to a point where we can focus more on cloud actually. So cloud is our kind of primary way to sort of try to monetize Grafana, having an amazing cloud experience that is much like easier and you can get started quicker. You have more pre-built dashboards and integrations.
Well, Tucker, I'm a big fan of your work and the success. And again, I'm old enough to remember when we'd have to kind of keep software under the table when it was proprietary. It wasn't open. And then watching open source just continue to boom. All the big projects that became successful all started out with a very humble approach. I remember Linux Torvalds' first email was like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen here. We're going to give it a shot. You see these, this is what it's all about, the ethos of solving a problem in the open. This is an open source paradigm. But now with all the commercial opportunities, it's this commercial opportunity. So congratulations on your success. Take a minute to quickly put a plug in for things that you're working on, recruiting in the open source project or for Grafana Labs. What are you looking for? How do people get involved and what's available?
Yeah, I mean, plug is now like we're super hard at work on Grafana 8, and we're going to have our own conference, Grafana Online in June, where we'll unveil Grafana 8. So that's going to be sort of exciting. So look out for the beta, get engaged, give us feedback on what you think, and sort of help us sort of shape what we build in the future. And that for that is the GitHub project. It's that's and our community site is where people can kind of engage with us and let us know that we're building the right thing. And yeah. And I'm super excited for Grafana 8. It has some really kind of key things that we've been working on for a long time, streaming being one of them, but also a really kind of new modern set of visualizations that kind of make Grafana really kind of feature complete in not only for the observability use cases, but for the BI and kind of IoT use cases as well.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. It speaks to all the developers out there who always are striving for a better way to roll up data, the most relevant data, visualize it, get the insights. It's going to be a programmatic thing. So I think you're really on the right track. Congratulations for all your hard work and success. And we'll be keeping in touch. And the world premiere here at RedisConf for your celebrity status now and the community. I'm not kidding, but you're doing great. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, our next guest here in the Keynote fireside chat review, Derek Burdick, VP of Digital Engineering at Genesis, is Derek here. Derek, good to see you.
Hey, nice to see you too.
Hey, love how you guys built this connection between empathy and technology. Can you talk about that and your solution and how that's building empathy for customers?
Yeah, so we build empathy through our experience as a service platform. We use that to deliver it at scale. It provides us with new levels of personalization for our customers and allows us to treat every customer really as if they were the only one. To do that, we leverage data across the enterprise so that we already know things about them that we don't have to keep asking them for. I'm sure we've all experienced that IVR call where we constantly are asked for our PIN or our telephone number. So that's how we drive it. We use AI to anticipate those customer needs and really to help automate and optimize those experiences.
Awesome. Great. Well, great topic on the AI side. I was just talking earlier with the co-founder, the top of the Keynote review here, and real time and AI go well together, right? So you have real-time performance, high throughput, low latency at scale. Now with Redis, how do these play into your Genesis Engage solution? How does that help large customers' expectations?
Yeah, so for the large customers, the most important communication channels are the real-time ones, right? So that's voice and chat. We currently power our cloud solution, which can deliver over 200,000 concurrent calls and 70 billion interactions a year. obviously Redis is part of our powerhouse that delivers that, right? We need high IOPS, low latency, and we need the data available to all of our distributed microservices. And lastly, building on open source Redis actually gives us the ability for our customers to run more cost effectively in their labs, right, to try out the solutions, but also gives them the peace of mind to get critical support from either Redis labs or purchasing it through a marketplace like Redis Enterprise on Azure.
Derek, can you explain or just take a minute to talk about the AI impact to your tech stack? How do you see that going? Where's that trajectory leading you guys?
Yeah, so the AI adoption technology, Genesis, across all of our cloud and private edition solutions has been growing rapidly. It's something we invested in heavily several years ago, and it's been a great fit for these solutions. With AI, you need to understand and predict, take actions based on that data, and then have the feedback back into the system. And that's, how we've developed our AI solutions to leverage that. In the past, all of that was done manually with people interpreting reports, gathering data. And that could typically take months or quarters to actually get implemented into their real-time communication systems. And what we're seeing now with AI is that we can leverage that much faster through automated means, but we can also get data to real people faster, and they can integrate and operate on that.
A lot's changed in the what used to be called the call center space. Now it's called contact center, obviously, because it's not just calls anymore. It's, we've seen the iPhone in 2007 change all that. It's a computer. It's all interactive formats. And certainly in the pandemic, cloud has played a big role in this, and now AI. How do these changes reflect into you guys as you guys evolve with your journey and the tech trends?
We've seen a huge uptake in our cloud service. Luckily we saw that trend like everybody a long time ago. We've been investing heavily in cloud and now lead with a cloud first story. We started a number of years ago when kind of the PBX dinosaurs ruled the world and there was no data. It was just phone calls. And that's really where we started and have been leading innovation and building out experiences for our customers. And really that's how we've had great success is creating the great experiences for our customers.
Well, it's great to have you on and hear the examples. And listening to Dave's keynote, it's clear you guys are putting a lot of emphasis on the technology innovation in the company. Can you speak on what that means to you as an engineering leader?
It means we have to listen to our customers, our employees, and the market. We need to look for ways to create new value for both our shareholders and our customers so that we can stay relevant in the industry. We've been a huge adopter of both AI, but also our voice and chatbot solutions have been leading the market on real-time interactions. Our outcome prediction is able to drive better customer engagement. And we have a predictive routing. So, we invest in innovation quite heavily. That's really what drives our product roadmaps and our success.
Derek, thanks for coming on and spending the time here on the post-keynote live chat review. Thanks for sharing your insight. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Okay, I'm Jeff Furrier with theCUBE. We're here for the post-keynote live chat review. 3 great perspectives. Hope you enjoyed that, and thanks for joining me and the guests in this conversation. Follow up more and follow these people on Twitter and on social handles and get involved. And of course, check out Redis Labs and RedisConf and all the content there on the site. So thanks for watching, and back to Mike and Nan.
Thank you, everyone. Now go ahead and rediscover the age of real time with Redis Enterprise. Power your data, your apps, your experiences in the real-time world. Thank you.